So today we have Tejas with us. Tejas recently was transitioning to product role, and he went through the interview process of Google. And I just wanted to gather his experience of how it was, and then probably some learnings that people can use going ahead. Tejas, hi. Thanks for taking out the time. Um
Hey,
uh,
hi Anirudh.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Let's Yeah, let's
Sure, go
start
ahead.
with a bit of introduction about yourself, like whatever you want to kind of tell.
Yeah. So first of all, hi everyone. I'm Tejas. 2 years in my career now. I'm doing software engineering. I've done software engineering at Grow. I've done software engineering at a real money gaming company called Vandalay Technologies. Very recently, I just shut down my startup called Coffee AI, where we were trying to solve for search and discovery of fashion products online. So uh, I've done my bachelor's in CSE from Triple IT Nagpur, from where I graduated in 2023. And right now, after shutting down my startup, I'm looking to transition to product roles. And during that process, thankfully, got a chance to interview for the APM position, which is the Associate Product Manager position at Google. And yeah, the results are out, and happy to discuss that in this call.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tejas. So yeah, that's a quite I would say a varied set of experience. Grow, then a real money gaming company. Then you mentioned about your startup coffee. Can we talk a little bit about that? Like, what was your motivation? How was the experience? Maybe a couple of learnings for anyone who is planning to start up their own company. So just the experience, how was it?
Yeah. So this was back in January of 2024. So me and my friend from college, so we wanted to build something with AI. We did not have a very clear problem statement. He also was working with me at Grow then. So both of us just decided to take the leap of faith and left our jobs without a very clear plan on how we want to take it forward. For the next 2, 3 months, honestly, we just iterated over multiple AI first products. Uh, as a matter of fact, we even tried a dating first AI product wherein there would be a companion to help you on these online dating apps. But eventually, we landed on this problem, which is that search and discovery for fashion on online shopping e-commerce marketplaces. So, for example, the big marketplace corporations, right from Amazon to the ones here in India, from Flipkart, Myntra, etc. So, uh, search and discovery for fashion is not a very interesting problem for them to solve.
Hmm.
Uh, that is a very similar business model to how Google works with their search, which is the ad revenue that these marketplaces gain after a user has searched is pretty significant. It has almost 100% margin. So no big corporation seems to touch that aspect of the user experience.
Hmm.
And yeah, started talking to a bunch of users. So we would just randomly go to events in Bangalore. So I was based in Bangalore at that time. We would just
Hmm.
go to these events where there would be some angel investors, some people interested in the startup community, talk to a bunch of people, show them our prototype app that we've built, and get them all onto a WhatsApp group. And
Hmm.
so that is how I started the WhatsApp group, which is for the next 1, 2 months while we were building something, I would almost daily communicate some form of fashion first insight or what we are
Hmm.
currently building with copy and onto the group
Hmm.
and directly ask for feedback basically. So that started from what brands they want to see on the app, uh, what kind of experience in terms of the UI they're expecting from
Hmm.
coffee. So yeah, worked on the WhatsApp group for about 2 months while we were working on building our app.
Hmm.
After that, when we finally launched the app, as it happens with most startups, it didn't work. What I
Hmm.
mean is, even after multiple GTM iterations. So as I said, we started with an AI search first.
Hmm.
eventually moved on to an AI stylist, and then eventually moved on to an app where you can get homegrown Indian local Instagram brands to shop from.
Hmm.
And during all these iterations, I was constantly making sure that I'm aware of what the market demands are. The way
Hmm.
I did that is, let's say, the first, as I said, is just go there and talk to a bunch of people who are
Hmm.
interested in using your product. So that for us turned out to be Gen Z women in India, especially
Hmm.
those in tier one cities in India. And even if we go even more narrower, it's those people who are studying in NIFTs, which is the Fashion Technology Institutes in India. Yeah, so first is on-ground customer research, I would say, is comes
Hmm.
first before anything else. Then, as I said, the second most important thing that I believe we did was market research in terms of the macros. So we had a very basic macro lever of search being faulty in across
Hmm.
these marketplaces. But to go levels deeper into that research, what I did was just look at search providers. So there's in software, basically, there are search providers who provide search to Shopify stores, to I would
Hmm.
say even big marketplace model companies, that could be in e-commerce, that could be in stockbroking, etc. So just look at reports of search companies. That is how I primarily did market research.
Hmm.
And during that phase, I got in touch with a bunch of associates who work at venture capital firms in Bangalore itself.
Hmm.
So associates are basically entry level. Uh, these are entry level jobs at venture capital
Yeah.
firms, wherein the person is supposed to scout a bunch of companies. They're supposed
Hmm.
to filter them out and pass the good ones onto the partners for
Yeah.
before they eventually decide to invest.
Hmm.
So yeah, got in touch with a bunch of associates. From there, I got to know about three, four other companies building in the same space,
Hmm.
solving the same problem, catering to the same customer, and
Hmm.
trying to solve it in the exact same way.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so we tried pitching to a bunch of VCs. So 50% of our pitches were for VCs or investors who we reached out from our side.
Yeah.
50% of the interest was inbound, which was pretty surprising for us as well.
Hmm.
As I said, the simple reason being, since we got in touch with a bunch of associates from, let's say, one VC, a lot of them picked it up and the space was interesting. The space, I think, still is interesting for a bunch of VCs, not just in
Hmm.
India, also across the world. So, pitched coffee to them. We did not have a very clear plan on what we wanted to do after raising money, especially since we knew the product isn't working.
Hmm.
And I was very skeptical of wanting to raise money
Hmm.
before seeing any user retention on the app.
Yeah.
So again, 2, 3 months went by in our last GTM iteration of
Hmm.
uh, helping customers find Instagram brands better. Yeah, I would say after pitching and actually internalizing the fact that this market and this customer base is very hard the problem is very hard to solve for
Hmm.
this market, for this customer base. And which was the major reason for why we eventually decided to shut down and then
Hmm.
go our separate ways.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is at a very high level.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So as like while you were describing your experience, I kind of could divide it into three buckets. First of all, I would say uh, it's such a great insight that you started that WhatsApp group. You were in touch with the community all through every day. You were communicating, getting feedback because a lot of products we see they are built entirely on one person's vision, and when they hit market, the realization is that okay, this is not what the market wants. So I
yeah,
would say like that's a very great insight that you started, that you reached out to people, created a WhatsApp group. It's basically an MVP. Like that's what
it is.
most of product roles teach, that you first build an MVP, get quick feedback, iterate quickly, fail quickly, and then move on. So I think that's a very good idea. And anyone who is planning to start up anything, WhatsApp today has brought the power of like that reduce that feedback loop to a lot to a very small, window. So you can get instant feedback, and everyone should leverage that. Second thing was,
Yeah.
I think the market segment you talked about. Now,
Mm,
going to a market segment as low as people studying in NIFT, that shows that you have narrowed down the problem and you know whom to target. And a lot of companies, I think, do this. Even if you take example of Tesla, who's like that, who's the initiator of electric vehicles, so to say. They targeted a
mm,
very niche segment of high-end owners who will buy luxury cars, and they cracked the problem for them, and then they are trying to move it down
mm,
to regular cars. So having that clarity in like this is my market segment, I solve it for this, and then I kind of replicate it in other market segments. And that's a
mhm.
very good plan. And kudos to you. Like you could narrow it down to such an extent. Probably shows that you had a lot of feedback coming in from a lot of places. Yeah, and that ties
Yeah.
again back to the WhatsApp group and the events that you attended. Also, like I think the VC angle that you brought in, that's very good. I mean the the CRISPR, so people who are putting their money into the market, they would know the best at what is working on. Because before
Yeah.
putting their money, they have to do like 100 iterations, 100 tests, 100 thought processes of like what will work, what will not work. So if someone is
Yeah.
in that business, probably it's good to leverage that. You reached out to all these associates. One, it brought that 50% inbound traffic for VC interest. That was good. But second,
Yeah.
it validated your problem. So I think this was really
Mhm.
great. Uh, Especially like if anyone is planning to start. I think these are very key takeaways. And I'm sure like you didn't go ahead with the product, but your learnings would have been tremendous. I can just imagine like did
Yeah.
you would have felt a lot. Yeah, at the end of this whole exercise, you would have learned a lot of things.
Yes, I did. And yeah, as you said, uh, very fast learning at in very small time. So
Hmm.
incredibly helpful. Yeah, the
Yeah,
whole journey.
nice. All right, all right. So let's talk about then the product role that you're trying for. So you recently interviewed with Google, right? I just wanted to chat a bit about it. Like, how was your experience? What was the process like? And
Yeah.
and what were the interviews? How did they go? Maybe we can discuss a bit about that. But just how did you start? How did you start preparation? What was your preparation? How did you create your resume? How did you reach out?
Yeah. So this started in, I would say, November again of 2024.
Hmm.
So this was the first time I was seriously looking out, decided that I would consider uh, getting into a product role.
Hmm.
Yeah, so starting with the resume, what I honestly did was just reach out to a bunch of people who
Hmm.
were product managers at companies that I've worked at before.
Hmm.
So I just DM'd them on WhatsApp, wanting to get inputs on a basic prototype resume that I built. So
Hmm.
from their inputs is how I started. And I put in a lot of effort on the resume, I would say as well, to
Hmm.
actually figure out how what big tech looks for in a resume, because
Hmm.
that is a very standard they have a very
Hmm.
standard ATS system which filters your resume.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would say I spent at least a week or two on building the resume as good as I could.
Hmm.
So
Before the resume part, like uh, what led you to decide that the product role is a good fit for me? What was your thinking back then? Like why product?
yeah. So after coffee and the entire experience of really understanding how products are built, which
Hmm.
is right from the ideation part of it to eventually getting a prototype out, even building that, and then even the marketing or sales part of it, which is actually getting it into the hands of the customer. So this entire value chain and working across this entire value chain is what personally excited me. Uh, I felt that this is a much more natural fit as a job
Hmm.
for me than one particular domain, which I was back then, which is software engineering. So that was the primary reason for why I started with that. But in the process so far now, I would say the honest answer is I just love to solve problems in solve product problems for customers. That is as general as it gets, but that is the honest truth, which is you talk to a bunch of customers, you try to build something for them, and when it actually works, the joy is immense.
Hmm.
That is the honest answer after all this now. So yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, and yeah,
yeah,
like you rightly say, it's product management is a generalist role. You do a lot of things, but what you are paid for is to solve that customer problem. Even if you're working in big tech, even if you're working in startups, like in big tech, your work would be to find that customer problem and drive alignment towards it. In startup, maybe your role would be to find that product market fit. But end of the day, you are going to go out to customers and figure out their problems and figure out a way to solve them. That's all. Like that's what
yeah,
product managers are paid for, probably.
yeah, exactly. So
Hmm.
the primary motivation was that started
Hmm.
with the resume, started applying to a bunch of companies for
Hmm.
entry level product roles. So this ranges from product analyst roles to associate product manager roles.
Hmm.
So I did not have traditional experience in product management or even, let's say, a business analyst or a data analyst role.
Hmm.
So I also interviewed with a company for a product analyst role, and I could not clear the interview. And
Hmm.
after the interview, which was again in early December last year, after the interviews when I actually realized what the product interviews are about.
Hmm.
So the way the questions are, let's say, bucketed into three, four buckets,
Hmm.
and then from then you take on in a structured manner to solve it. That is when I understood after failing that interview. So yeah,
Hmm.
gave a product analyst interview with
Hmm.
MoveWorks. They are a B2B SaaS company.
Hmm.
Also gave an APM interview with Sprinto. Sprinto is again a B2B SaaS compliance tech compliance company.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so after failing again the Sprinto interview as well, I was kind of hoping that I started studying in a more structured manner in terms of how product
Hmm.
management interviews work, hoping for something to click. And in January 2025, I got the first email from Google, which was that they'd like to go forward with the APM interview process.
Hmm.
So yeah, should I
Nice.
keep
Yeah.
going?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you rightly said like there is a specific structure to what sort of problems will be asked and how do you approach those problems. It's a very generic structure that you could also use in maybe like working as a product manager or in life in general. It's like, okay, this is the structure, this is what I'm solving for. So it's a very generic framework, but there is a framework and you need to practice that,
Yeah.
I think. Also, three or four buckets that you uh, realized the questions are centered around. Like, what was
Yeah.
those buckets that you felt you needed more knowledge about? And yeah,
Mhm.
just a bit about that.
Yeah. So uh, again, coming back to January 2025, after I got the mail, I realized that I wanted to try my best at this
Mm,
opportunity. So when I started researching, I came across some YouTube videos which would uh, put that place a question into one of the, I would say, three primary buckets. So the three primary buckets that came out to be were, the first is product sense bucket, product
Hmm.
sense or product design. A lot of people call it product design as well. So these are the kinds of questions which are basically, let's say, these are basic uh, questions wherein you have some user base and you want to design a completely new product for them.
Hmm.
So an example question for this could be, let's say you want to design new headphones that Google wants to launch for kids.
Hmm.
So, so this is a kind of question that you want to solve in a product sense way. The second bucket I would say is the product execution bucket.
Hmm.
What that means is basically, as the PM, on a day-to-day basis, you're going to have to solve problems
Hmm.
which go like this. So let's say you are looking at metrics. You built a product, you're looking at the metrics of the product, and
Hmm.
let's say the customer acquisition costs have gone up in the last week. Now you want to figure out what the problem is, what the cause of this problem is, and solve it eventually.
Hmm.
So these kinds of problems fall into the product execution bucket.
Hmm.
And the third bucket is product strategy bucket. So
Hmm.
strategy meaning macro level, what is the, let's say, a direction that you want the product to take, what GTM strategy it should have,
Hmm.
whether a big tech company should invest in some XYZ feature or a product, should they acquire some other company?
Hmm.
These kinds of questions fall in that bucket. Now, a lot of people also decide to come up with their own buckets and their own frameworks. I
Hmm.
started with this and felt that this is a good enough like segmentation uh, to help me study and move
Hmm.
forward with the interviews. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Even while I was preparing, I had two major buckets to start with. Was these product questions, where all these questions like your favorite product, how can you improve it, anything
Yeah.
that has to do with improving a product, designing a product, or executing on tasks. And then there were behavioral questions which I kept separately, which were like they talk broadly about like what does a product manager do, how will you solve this problem. They'll give you a real world problem that you might face during your job, and like how will you solve
Hmm.
that. What are your options in this particular situation, and then like why product management are. So they're basically trying to judge that, do you know what a PM is, and are you ready for it, or you just applied it uh, considering it a fancy title
Yeah.
you applied. So that's what they're trying to gauge through those behavioral questions. So yeah, and completely agreed that these buckets might vary for everyone, but they come, you have to start with something and then you have to iterate on it. You might want to divide it separately, but broadly, this is the range of questions that come. Yeah, nice. Okay, so then you applied to Google. You got the email for they wanted to go ahead, and then like how much time do Google usually take to kind of revert back?
Okay. So I think it after the first email and after I replied that I want to go forward with the process,
Hmm.
it took them about a week to revert back, saying
Hmm.
what, explaining to me what the interview process would look like.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. So after that, I got the scheduled interview, which was again back in January 2025.